Hey, how's it going guys? Kolst here, bringing you this video on the top 10 neutral cards of Darkmoon Faire for Arena. Now, if you guys, I'm sure have already noticed, our new little friend here got this largely thanks to the support from you guys, so thanks a lot to everyone for that. Hopefully the stream and the videos will sound a lot better than they used to now. But anyway, I'm making this video because a lot of data's come in, got a good sense of a lot of the cards, haven't played with everything yet, but I'm ready enough to make this video. This video to just neutral cards, gonna make a separate video I think for class cards. Oh, and number one might shock you. Without further ado, let's get right into it. We'll go from bottom to top. So number 10, we have a 3-drop Darkmoon Statue. This is the 0/5 minion that gives your other minions +1 attack. The corrupt on this card is it gains +4 attack, so it goes from pretty much a nothing body to a 4 or 5 body. I have played a bit with this card, and because it's a 3-mana card, it's not automatic to corrupt it. Obviously, potentially you can play it really strong on turn 5, but the key for this card is you really want to have good 4-drops if you want to have this card, but honestly, I've actually had it where I've needed to play it without the corrupt, and it actually wasn't even that bad. But the upside of this card being played on turn 5 or even later with a combo like, I don't know, Expendable Performers or something, or just a board is extremely high. So this card is absolutely unfair if you can corrupt it easily. And next, coming in at number 9, we have another corrupt card, this one of the 4-mana variety. It is Circus Medic. 4-mana 3/4 with the text, Battle Cry, heal 4 to anything. With the corrupt, deal 4 damage. This is, I think, one of the best design cards of the set because the corrupt is not just a pure upside. Sometimes you would actually rather heal, and sometimes you miss that you can't heal when you want to. Although generally deal 4 damage is a more powerful effect. And one critical thing is that that 4 damage can go face, so this is a very strong reach tool oftentimes. Making this card just generally extremely flexible and never something you're sad to have in general. Unless you're forced to tempo it on turn 4 when you don't want the healing. So overall, very nice card. Moving in next, we have a 5-mana corrupt, Fleethoof Pearl Tusk. This is a card I didn't like as much, but I have to say, just based off its sheer performance, it's hard to deny. This is the 5-mana 4/4 rush with the upside of it becomes an 8/8 rush with corrupt. Now the reason I didn't like it as much was because it's a bit hard to corrupt a 5-mana minion, but 6 is a drop that you try to have, so oftentimes you can play this as an 8/8 on 7, and then it's just absolutely devastating to the opponent. Because even if you don't really need an 8/8 to kill something, you can still just leave behind a giant 8 attack minion, and that's a huge threat that your opponent has to deal with, or they're probably not going to live too long. Other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward there. Moving on next to number 7, we have Parade Leader. This was an interesting one I wasn't really thinking of, but statistically this card is performing extremely well. This card is a 2-mana 2/3 with the text, after you summon a rush minion, give it +2 attack. I do acknowledge part of the reason this card is working so well is because of Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter has so many rush minions, anything that summons Illidari, it's just an insane amount of synergy. If this was just a Demon Hunter list, this card would be probably in the top 4, top 3. I did notice, even removing Demon Hunter, this card still performs in the top 10 in most classes, so I put it around in the middle at number 7. And even classes that don't tend to have a ton of rush, there are some neutral options which we will be talking about very soon on this list, including the next minion, which is at number 6, Derailed Coaster. This is a 5-mana 3/2, which for each minion in your hand, summon a 1/1. Does not include itself. This will often be, it depends on which class you're playing and how big your hand size is, obviously, for how much value you get out of this card, but really worst case scenario, you're generally going to get at least 2 or 3 pings out of this and maybe more. And obviously if you have a Parade Leader, it's a lot of damage. So just the ability to have, it's basically a free Unleash the Hounds with a 3/2 body. It's extremely strong. It's usually better than Unleash the Hounds actually. Just can't go face because it's rush, but just an extremely flexible card and a really good defensive tool. Moving on to number 5, we have another card which potentially has rush, a 3-mana corrupt. It is Darkmoon Dirigible. This is a 3-mana 3/2 with Divine Shield. With corrupt, it gains rush. This card was one of the cards that I think everyone, the first time they saw it, they're like, ooh, Skylar Kassir power creep, but also they knew this was obviously going to be an extremely powerful card. It's 3 mana, so not too difficult to corrupt, but frankly, it's an extremely good minion just to play on curve, and oftentimes you will play it on curve. A lot of times when you play it corrupted, you don't even rush into something anyway, because there's often nothing to rush it into, because people don't tend to play that aggressively right now. But in any case, it's just an extremely powerful 3-drop. 3-drops are really hard to get, so it's performing extremely well. Moving on next, the last minion with rush on this list, but not a corrupt this time, is Claw Machine. A 6-mana 6/3 rush, which is a pretty good play on curve, but then has the upside, it has a death rattle. You get to draw a card, and that card gains +3/+3. So a lot of times you don't actually want to play this card on turn 6. You can if you have to, but usually there isn't a perfect thing to swing into anyway, so you're often best off just waiting until you're kind of out of options, and you also have enough mana available that you have a decent chance of playing whatever you draw. And used that way, this card is just extremely powerful as a refill tool for basically every class. Alright, and moving on to number 3 on this list, we have an epic card, the one everyone knows and love. It is Carnival Clown, card which, being an epic, you wouldn't have expected to see as nearly as much as it does, but for some reason epics are all over the place this meta. We don't know why. Blizzard hasn't said anything about it yet. But yeah, this is a 9-mana 4/4 taunt that summons 2 of itself. So if you can buff it, if you happen to get lucky enough to hit it with a Claw Machine, oh boy. And also, if you corrupt it with a 10, you have to play a 10-drop unless you can make it cheaper or something, but generally you have to play a 10-drop, and then you just get a full board of clowns. It's literally a clown fiesta. Yeah. But yeah, the point is, you very rarely actually see this card get corrupted, but just 9 mana for 3 4/4 taunts is extremely strong as is. It draws very easy comparisons to Eye of the Storm, which is a slightly better card, I think, but obviously that's a class card, and this card doesn't overload you for 3, so it's similar stats. And frankly, you don't see a lot of mages and stuff, so I don't think I've seen clowns. Maybe once I saw him get flame struck away, but it's really not something you really even see, so there's really nothing that counters it. It's just very good. It's guaranteed value. It'll do its job, what it needs to do. Alright, so moving on to top 2 on this list. First legendary I've actually mentioned, and it is Nzoth, God of the Deep. Nzoth is a 10 mana 5/7 with a battle cry, resurrect a friendly minion of each minion type. I was really struggling on where to put this card, whether to put it, below some of the less synergy based legendaries, but frankly the power level of this card is just so insane, it was hard for me to put it any lower. There are so many good drops right now. You can get dragons like Proto Drake, you can get mechs like Claw Machine or Dirigible, you can get a bunch of random Murlocs or beasts. There's just, basically almost any deck is going to have tribed minions. A huge percentage of the game, minions just in the game right now are tribed. It's actually extremely unusual, so this is almost always going to be a 10-mana play that will often just end the game. Oh, by the way, mentioning tribe minions like the elementals, like the 10-mana 7/7 double taunt, there's so many good hits with this card. So assuming you have time to play it, it's just going to be absolutely devastating to your opponent. And moving on to number 1, spoiler alert, it is a card I made a video about before, and it is Silas Darkmoon. This is a 7-mana 4/4 with a very interesting text, which is Battlecry, choose a direction to rotate all minions. So this is a very controversial pick, I think, but just looking at HS replay stats, this card is 2% higher than any other card on the neutral list. So I think it is fair for me to put it where I believe it rightfully deserves to be. This card is a card that I think a lot of people look down on, thinking it is far more situational than it actually is. It is often a 7-mana mind control with a downside of giving your opponent a 4/4, but more often this card is better than a mind control. You can give your opponent a small minion and get the best minion. The big difference is that your opponent really realistically cannot play around it, because they have to be so far ahead to play around it that it's just unreasonable. Imagine your opponent being able to play a Proto Drake and play enough minions that you can't kill while playing a 7-mana card and using your board. It just doesn't happen. But I already made a full video on why I believe Silas Darkmoon is the most underrated card ever. You guys can check that out up here. But anyway, that's my list. How would your list be different? Make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Again, thanks a lot everyone for hanging out and supporting the channel. You can see me, of course, live on Twitch at twitch.tv/kolst. And I'm always glad to see people from YouTube coming over there. But anyway, thanks a lot again. We'll see you guys next time.